Alright, so we went ahead and replaced our upper A-arm on our driver's side and our passenger side as well. And the main reason was the passenger side was pretty much rotted to pieces. So the bushings were shot and they need to be replaced. So that's pretty much what we're dealing with. That's our originals right there. So this is our driver's side. That's our passenger side. And I figure I'd show that. And the reason we're replacing them is our passenger side, like I was saying, is pretty rough. I mean, it is no bushing even there. So that's why I wanted to replace that, because to me, it's, you know, it's not really safe. You're down the road, it'll break right off, and then the control arm will just like that, and yeah, it will be a good situation. I did notice our ball joint. I put them on about a little over a year ago, and look at that, 2 fingers already moving. And obviously you can tell it's been replaced because I did it last year, and on top of that, you know, it's got the 3 bolts versus the rivets. This one I was checking it out. Look, I'm moving the whole control arm. So this one, you know, even if I hold the control arm, it takes a good bit of force. So that one's got a pretty good ball joint still. So that's good. But the bushings were on their way out on this one too. They have pretty much no bushing what's left in here. This bushing actually presses into this little sleeve kind of, and the sleeve presses into just this part of our A-arm. And it's kind of weird how they made it, but they don't use this side of it. It's not replaced at all. But well, let me rephrase that. It doesn't, when you replace it, it doesn't press into this side. So that's normal to be open like that, if that makes sense. But it's on its way out. And I hit a time with these bolts. They're 21 millimeter. And I hit a time with them. The passenger side especially, I spent about 2 hours on them. And what you want to do is I took a wire brush and took some brake parts cleaner and kept scrubbing all the dirt and mud and, you know, 24 years of road grime off of them. And I took and got some, I don't have no PB blaster here because, you know, I'm a shade tree guy here. And I had some used motor oil, we call it, good enough. And I put it on a little rag and wiped it on the threads there and kept working them and got them out. So that was good. But I'm gonna find out what thread that is, because, you know, I was kind of a little sketchy about that, because, you know, I was putting some torque on this for sure, trying to break them things loose. And my thought was snapping it off and it'd be in the control arm. I don't care about the control arm, you know, it's not a big deal. But our problem is, you know, you gotta have a bolt put back in there. So, you know, I'm gonna figure out what that is. I got lucky. I got all 4 of them out, and then I wire wheeled the threads up. And I checked them in our new ones, make sure they thread all the way down. And, you know, everything's good. It's nothing funny about them. And so that worked out real good. But definitely going to look and see what thread they are. And I'm going to order a spare set just to have on hand. I am going to keep these control arms. I'm not going to throw them away, because a lot of times these repop control arms, the material ain't as thick. And you know, the quality just nowadays is not there. So I'm gonna keep these. I'm gonna buy new bushings and buy a new shaft, and I'll just replace all these. This one I could probably just get bushings for, because the shaft is okay. It looks worse what it is, but it'll all clean up. But I might just order new bushings and press them in. And I don't think we're gonna mess with our ball joint there, but yeah, they're in pretty good shape. Now this one, this control arm, it actually, you know, it did survive. So when I say survive, you know, it didn't, it looks like I was kind of scared that it oblonged this hole where it presses into our control arm, you know, just, you know, wearing all funny and all that going down the road. But it didn't, so that's good. So I was kind of worried about that. It's actually seized in there. I mean, it won't even hardly pivot. It'll, you know, pivot back and forth, but I mean, it's not really supposed to go like this anyway. But I mean, it'll have a little bit, but you know, it shouldn't be too awful bad. But you know, control arms are, you know, they're made to, you know, they move like this as you're going down the road. You don't want them, you know, kind of going like this sideways. So I'm gonna get new bushings and press new bushings in it, and this shaft is definitely going to have to be replaced. And well, this side looks okay. I have to check our threads out. They look worse than what they are, so we'll get a new nut for them, get all new hardware and everything. But I don't know. I'll probably end up just putting new control arm shaft and bushings in it. But I'm definitely saving these because I'll reuse them again later, and it makes it a lot easier. Side note here, I got to do suspension work on this too. So I can't ever get away from brakes or front end suspension, unfortunately. So I did order the gasket kit. I got our tail shaft seal, we got our bearing retainer seal, and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna pull this 3-speed out, and we're gonna clean it up and double check all the gears. I checked them before when I bought this 3-speed moving knot. I got a heck of a deal on this 3-speed. I only paid 30 bucks for it. So worked out real good. So no, I'll take that back. Now I paid 40 for this 3-speed, and then the 4-speed I bought only gave 40 bucks for, because that 4-speed is the one that's the part that I'm gonna put in my C10 for now. It's not gonna be permanent, but just for now, just so I can get rid of all them transmission lines and all that mess. And all that transmission, I mean, it shifts fine and everything, doesn't slip, but it's just leaks. But I think I made a video about this, but I'll show it again. But your rear drive shaft in a 67 to 72 C10 is the same length as that 59 Biscayne, if you didn't know that, but they are the same. The carry bearing and all that's in the same spot. These yokes that actually bolt on and press on, they are the exact same U joints, everything. The only thing that's different is just this front drive shaft. It's a little bit longer on a long bed, 67 to 72. So, a little bit longer, that's about it. Now, your slip yokes are a little different. So, this one had the, they call it the Muncie 318. So, it has a different spline count. But, however, there, I'll have to look into it a little more. But if it had a 3-speed with overdrive, the dry shaft is actually shorter, and it probably is about the same length. So it's a little, no, actually it'd be a little shorter than this one. Yep, this is for a Muncie 318. So I gotta figure out what's going on with there. I don't know if I'm going to use this dry shaft. Probably use the rear one, obviously, but I don't know if I'm going to use it as far as shorten it down. I'll have to look into that. But anybody out there's got one of these fan guards for a 59 or a 60, Impala, Bel Air, or Biscayne, let me know. Drop a comment below, because I'm looking for one. I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to try and see if I can fix it. And I'm going to see if I can cut all this rod out and just make a patch for it. But I'm definitely going to look into that. So we'll figure out what's what. Yeah, this ain't really a how-to or anything like that. It's kind of a vlog, but I just figured I'd show it. And I did clean the frame up a little bit. It's definitely, it's definitely rough, but I mean, the frame is fine. I tell you what, this frame on this Durango is perfect. But I mean, it's still got the factory paint on it. It's still, I mean, it's a little, it's just surface rust, but I mean, that ain't nothing. Look, it's even got the barcode on it. But I mean, this frame is perfect on this thing. You don't see that on a Durango. But everything that's, rotted to pieces on this thing is, luckily, it's everything that's replaceable, so that's good. But I cleaned it up a little bit, and just to kind of freshen it up a little bit, and just to help it. So I gotta get in here and replace these axles under here on the front. We're going to do that. They got some play in them, so it's like a U-joint that's underneath these rubber boots here, so kind of like it. And I'm going to replace them next too, and we're going to delete the ABS completely, well, truly there in quotations, on the front. And all I mean by that is we're going to pull the hubs off, and we're just going to buy hubs that don't have the provision for that little sensor. And we're just going to get rid of that completely. And so got to figure out something about that module. It's got to be a video somewhere. It's got to be a wiring diagram somewhere where you can go in here and take 2 wires or something, jump something to something, and be able to retain your speedometer and all that, so everything, all your gauges work like you're supposed to. So, and that thing's all out of focus. Apologize, but it's got to be something you can do. So when you tighten all this up and you're trying to, you know, rough in, I say rough in your alignment there, what I usually do, now this is the, you know, this shade tree way of doing it, but what I do is I come in here and I kind of look for wetness marks. I clean all this up. I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna get a garden hose, I'm gonna get all down in here and flush the rest of this dirt and grime and everything out. It's all wet because I was spraying brake cleaner here trying to flush all that out, because it's got little drain holes right here. There's one right there, and there's one behind that bolt. And I'm gonna take maybe a coat hanger or something, try and push all that dirt in there, all that crap out, and get all that out of there, because you don't want all that in there to rot that all to pieces. But I got lucky on mine. But I'm gonna get some PR15 and clean it up. But anyway, so when you're setting your alignment here, what I like to do is I like to take and let me show you what a better example. I'm gonna loosen these up real quick and show you what I'm talking about. Y'all can probably guess. All right, so this is what I call kind of a witness mark. See the shadow? There's our washer right there, and kind of the shadow of our washer where it was bolted up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull it back and just kind of line that up, you know, close, something like right in there. Hold it back so it don't move. And then I'll tighten this up, and we'll call her good, you know. Look, see, it moved a little bit. This camera work, I apologize, it's absolutely horrible. All right, look, all shaky, and all right, I need a tripod. We'll pull it on back here a little bit, see how you can kind of move it around, and so we'll pull it back about right there. Just kind of snug it up. And then we just kind of do the same thing to this one. You can kind of just line it up. This one's actually pretty good, so it looks good. I'll loosen it up here. Let me get my hand out of the way. But kind of tell the witness marks, the outline of that washer down in there. I just light it back up as close as I possibly can, and pretty much call it a day. But yeah, it's a little rough, but it's just surface. It's not, you know, nothing major. It's still structurally sound, so we're good on that. So I'm gonna clean all that up. There, get some PR15, and I'm gonna get in there and get all that dirt and road grime and all that out, clean all that stuff out, and call it good. But anyway, so that's what I do to kind of get the camber kind of, you know, close, and call it good there. But I mean, you can move that thing and move it, you know, forward and back. You can move it, you know, sideways. You can move the A-arm like that or like that. You know, it's kind of like when you're putting a door on your vehicle there. I mean, you can move that thing pretty much any way you want. So that's all I do. I mean, I just do that a little bit and call it good. But I just noticed something here when I bought this A-arm. Look how they torque down this one on this side. Yeah, it's kind of even all the way around. Look at this. Kind of even all the way around on that. And then we come over to this one. What in the world are they doing? Look at washers sideways a little bit. Yeah, somebody must have wanted to hurry up and take a break, I guess, when they were repopping it. Anyway, but yeah, I gotta get in here, and I'm gonna replace these brake hoses and all this stuff, because these brake hoses are, a lot of times, you know, with the issue I had with my rear brakes is the inside of them just kind of shrinks down, kind of like that. When you step on the brake, all that hydraulic pressure kind of pushes it out, and then when you let off the brake, it kind of, you know, it holds that position there, and it won't let the brake foot kind of retract like it's supposed to, so to speak, if that makes sense. But I'm gonna put all new hoses on. I got the rear brake hose for it, and I'm gonna get these two, and then I'm gonna get in here and we're gonna take all these lines off and all this stuff. We're gonna throw all these lines away, because it's just, that ain't safe. Because the way I look at it is, you know, if you could sit there and if that line starts turning when you're taking stuff apart, it's time to change it anyway. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But like I always said, you can buy a whole 25-foot roll of 3/16 brake line for like $30, and you know, you can make every single brake line on here for like probably about $30. So, and I'm gonna look into seeing what's what. I'm gonna try and ditch all this ABS junk, but you know, like I always said, Virginia's kind of a little strict on stuff, so I don't know. I got to figure out what's what. The ABS, you know, we'll delete it on down here, And the good part about ABS, because I didn't think much of this, but your speed sensors. So they can't really put, I guess, a speed sensor on the front there, because when you're, you're turning left or turning right, you got one wheel that's spinning a different speed than the other side, and it won't be as accurate, so to speak. And your speed sensor on the back, now correct me if I'm wrong, but they put it on your ring and pinion, on your actual ring in your rear end, because it's constantly, it's more, it's turning like this, it's more accurate. So just getting rid of all these sensors on the front, it did not affect nothing at all. I don't even have no check engine light, believe it or not. But even if it did, I'd take the bulb out. Because I don't like going down the road at nighttime to have the Christmas tree. I get tired of, looking at a Christmas tree. All them pretty orange, and, well, you got orange, and you got red for a brake light, and I think yellow for ABS, and I just don't feel like, having Christmas year long around, but anyway, yeah, so it doesn't really affect nothing, just getting rid of all that. And really, realistically, I don't have to swap them hubs out. There's nothing wrong with them. But the reason I'm doing that too is I want to just truly get rid of the ABS junk, because, it's just a lot of issues with these newer vehicles as they age. All the sensors and electronics start going bad in them. And, I'm a type person, I'm just not going to sit there and keep throwing parts at it, unless it's something, fuel injected related. But keep it running, so to speak, if that makes sense. But as far as like the ABS, that's not really going to affect the running of it. But correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, the other reason I want to do it is kind of blabbing along here, but I want to ditch these hubs so I get rid of that sensor, so there's no chance of dirt or water or anything getting up inside that bearing, and making the bearing prematurely fail. So that's why I'm doing it too. Plus they're $50. I'm sure they're made definitely not in the USA, but we'll change all that stuff out and make it more of a true ABS delete, so to speak. So that way I ain't gotta worry about, really realistically, I still got the sensors on there, I just snipped the wires off. But I want to make it more of a true delete. So I did do one thing. Let me show you real quick, and I don't want to keep blabbing. So I really didn't want to do this, but if you look closely, obviously we're missing our air box and everything, and we're missing our AC. But AC didn't work anyway, and I'd like to put the AC back on it, but I deleted our cruise control. And the reason for that is because it didn't work. And just another good example of, when these more modern vehicles, stuff starts going bad on them, and it just starts making it run funny. And the reason why I say it makes it run funny is it's got a vacuum line that goes to it. And I don't know if I would want to say for sure if it had a hole in the diaphragm or not. But, I really didn't want to delete it. I'll be 100% honest. I didn't want to delete the cruise control because it's nice to have cruise control. But it didn't work. I think it worked maybe twice since I've owned this, and that was it. And I just, not going to deal with the headaches and kind of weight savings there. So I just got rid of it and eliminate some of them vacuum lines and clean it up a little bit. And actually, believe it or not, I think I don't think the diaphragm itself had a hole in it, but all them extra vacuum lines, I'm sure they hit a little vacuum leak. And being with the FI and all this OBD2 stuff, I don't know a whole lot about it, but a little vacuum leak, on something that's got a computer and motherboard and all that good stuff, it affects it. Just a small vacuum leaks like it, especially if it's a real big vacuum leak, it definitely affects it. But well, big vacuum leak ain't good anyway. All vacuum leaks ain't good. So I did a little test here and blocked it off and see if it would smooth the engine out any, and actually did a little bit. So that kind of tells me it had either it's something in them lines or the diaphragm. So I'm not sure if it's got a little hole in it or not. I don't actually think it does. And you can actually take a vacuum pump and just pump it up and just see if it holds a vacuum. And if that works, then that tells you the diaphragm's good. But I think it's just the lines, all them lines just getting old and everything. And so I just did away with it and blocked it off. And I did a little test too, because this thing, I've kind of been wondering something too. So a lot of times if you get a hole in your brake booster and you step on the brake kettle and it goes like that, a lot of times that's the diaphragm going bad. And I never really thought about this about a brake master cylinder and a booster, but this is definitely 100% true. But if you ever think about it, if you get a hole in that diaphragm, and on top of it, if that master cylinder is leaking at that back of that seal, at that master cylinder, what can happen is it's pulling a vacuum off of it. So it's pulling a vacuum, off its diaphragm. It's flowing this way. And so that brake fluid, theoretically, in my personal opinion, could probably get sucked through that brake diaphragm there and end up, going inside the engine. I never really thought much about it, but that's definitely true. So that definitely, that's got two issues. You got a vacuum leak on top of it, and then you got, it's sucking in brake fluid and all that. If that master cylinder is leaking, back in here underneath there. But this one, I think it's got a slight leak in it, but the old one did. That's why there ain't no paint left, but I got to get a brake booster for it yet. I'm looking in to see if, honestly, I don't want to do it, but I'm thinking about just ditching the booster, to be honest, just for get more room under the hood and less headaches. But getting rid of all these vacuum sources here, it actually really makes it run a whole lot better. But thing about it is, you get stuff inspected nowadays and it's just a pain. So they just won't be picky about it, but they don't really care about cruise control. You ain't really got to worry about that. It's nothing to do with emissions or anything like that. So I got rid of it. I didn't want to, but I'm definitely going to look into putting that back on, and I'm going to fix that. I'd like to keep cruise control. I want to keep cruise control on it. I like to put the AC back on it and fix that right. I want to keep, like to keep my power steering on it. I was pointing over there when I said power steering, but I want to definitely keep my power steering. I'm not getting rid of that. I'm not just sitting here, okay, we're going to just delete everything and, not really truly fix the problem there. That's not really what I'm saying at all, but, just try to, make this thing run a little better for now, just to help it. But I want to put the cruise control back on it, and I definitely want to put the AC back on it, fix that right, keep the power steering, and I like to keep the power brakes. But I want to ditch all the ABS junk, and I'd like to look into later on. I can't really do this because this, Virginia is very picky on it, but I like to ditch these airbags, get rid of all that junk. But I'm not going to disturb that because, we're not going to mess with that. There's nothing wrong with it, so. But I'm definitely going to look into that. So I clean up all the vacuum lines, and I'm going to get the original air box. We're going to put that back on. I don't really like that air cleaner. It's kind of ugly. Doesn't really look right. But I did that at the time just to see what it looked like, and it just kind of stayed on there for about a year. So I think we're going to pull that back off. We're going to put our box back on. That way to look a little better. But I am going to change these valve covers out because the issue with them is the PCV valve. I don't know how in the world. I know you can get it out, but trying to get it out without, I don't really care if I destroy it. I can get another PCV valve. But trying to find this actual, seal down here, this rubber is hard as a brick, and it's just going to break all to pieces. But it doesn't really matter, honestly, because honestly, if you you got to kind of destroy it to get it out, but trying to find a grommet to fit in there and get a PCV valve. A PCV valve's easy. That ain't a big deal. But trying to find the correct size grommet, they're just impossible to find, it seems like. I looked into that, but because that's something I tried too, is checking this PCV valve, and sometimes I've seen them actually stick open. And, again, it's like a vacuum leak. If you got that, and then you got a cruise control vacuum leak, and maybe not on the diaphragm itself, but actually in the vacuum lines, and then you got a booster, leaking and all that. All this stuff adds up. All of it adds up, and it just, having a motherboard on it and all that, it makes it run like complete garbage. it just, you know, lacking power and all that good stuff. But that's little tricks there. But yeah, if you that's one way to check. Just to, I mean, it doesn't cost nothing. That's one way to check. See if you ever got a vacuum leak internally inside your brake booster. Just pull this vacuum line off and take your thumb and hold on it. And if it smooths it out, especially if it smooths it out a lot, and you know something in that booster's got a hole in it. So you know, I'd tell you, same way with your PCV is you know, you pull this hose off here and you hold your thumb on this plenum here, and if it smooths it out, you know, it definitely makes a difference. And that'll tell you, you know, hey, you need a new PCV valve. That's the way I do stuff. I mean, it's not really the right way, but yeah, it's quick and easy ways to do it. But I'm gonna do something about this hose. I need to put the fan guard back on it. That got messed up in the accident. I want to put that back on, but I just do not like this hose. It looks ridiculous. Look at that. I think what I was thinking about doing is coming in here and just trimming this much of it off and just turn this hose just a little bit. Just turn it that way, shorten it up, so to get rid of all this, you know, extra length and kind of clean it up a little bit, so it's not just, you know, sitting on top of the plenum right like that. But so that's where we're at. I don't keep blabbing, but I'm gonna look into that. They're kind of picky about it. They won't pass it because it doesn't have ABS, so we can't pass it. I mean, look, we got an Etzel sitting way over there. Never had ABS. And look, it's still here. You don't need ABS. You really don't. So I'm gonna figure out what's what. It's gotta be something in here that you can jump over. And so you can still keep your speedometer working and all that. And you know, if you really think about this, just think it outside the box. The reason you can't bypass this, because I thought about it, is because they can make a plug. Because I thought about the same thing on my C10. They make a plug, right? It's the same concept, but it's a little different. But so you want to got an externally regulated alternator, right? On a, you know, like my truck here, it had a externally regulated alternator there. They make a plug where that plug plugs into your regulator. So basically it jumps these 4 wires over to each other so they can get rid of the regulator. Well, they could probably make a plug just like that would plug directly right into these, so that it would just, you know, jump whatever over to send the correct signal. Like, say, don't lose your speedometer, because if you unplug, I think it's this one, your speedometer doesn't work. So you know good and well that they can make a plug out there to do it, but they can't do it because the government, basically. That's what it boils down to. But it won't have ABS and it won't pass inspection. But you don't need it. You don't need it. You really don't. To me, I don't like it, because to me, when, like my Etzel, I actually kind of like the manual brakes. Like, I ain't got nothing against power brakes, but even just power brakes, just regular traditional brakes, even on something like that, or my C10, it's got power drum brakes. It's a firmer pedal. And that's got 4-wheel drum brakes on it. It's actually a lot firmer pedal, and it's power drum. It's a firmer pedal than what this is. You know, all that extra, you know, all that brake fluid's got to go through all these extra lines and that junction in there and distribution block, and it's just, you know, you eliminate all that stuff. And to me, it's safer because it gives you more of a firmer pedal and it's more true, so to speak. So, all right. Gotta end the video here. I'm blabbing too much. Look, we're almost 30 minutes in it. We gotta get this thing wrapped up. So, I'm gonna wrap it up. We'll go down the road. We'll test her out. Just like that, we got a new A-orbs on. And alignment's not terrible, but it's definitely off. It's definitely off. But oh man, I got rid of a lot more play. This thing had a bunch of play. It's still got a little bit, but I got rid of a lot of that. I know what this is. This is that steering, it's not the steering box, but it's where the actual steering shaft bolts up. So that'll get rid of that. I already replaced it, but we'll check it out again. But yeah, it definitely got rid of it. A whole lot better. So makes it nice. This thing's so much smoother. Oh yeah, I mean, good day. This thing's a whole lot better. Yeah, we'll replace our brake booster next and put a new PCV valve, and we're going to put LA valve covers on here. The older 360 valve covers are supposed to be able to bolt right up, so we're going to find out if that's true. And the reason I'm doing that is just less headaches with the PCV system, and then we can put a better breather on it and everything, and that'll really help it some more. There we go, new A-arms on, and oh yeah, that's a whole lot better. Our brake hoses and all our brake lines, and this thing gonna run a whole lot better and stop better, and see if we can get rid of that ABS. But I gotta detail and clean up the other side. Well, I say detail, but just we're gonna clean it up. I did this side, but I gotta do the other side yet. But yes, I know I gotta get tires for it. I gotta do that yet, but we're gonna take and straighten up some more stuff, and I'm gonna put the money where, you know, it's needed more. I'm not worried about these tires right now. I got junk tires I can throw on it if these get real bad, but I'm not ready to do that. But I'd rather put the money in the brake hoses and do all the brake lines and get that straightened out first, then you know, worry about getting tires on it, because as soon as you put tires on it, I'm gonna have to get a front alignment. I just don't want to eat them up. So this one is not ate up terrible, but it's definitely, it got a little life left, but it's definitely was wearing a little funny. So, and when I do get new tires, we'll get the same tires that are already on here, the Fulcrum MTs, and we'll just put new ones on the back and then take ones off the back, rotate them to the front. But then we'll probably, if these got somewhat of a decent you know, as long as they hold air, I might just keep them for just junk vehicles. Just maybe throw on my F-150, my 78 or something like that, just, you know, just to move around. A good example would be, like, keep one of these junk tires and throw on my C10 here, because we got a flat. But yep, it needs tires too. But anyway, that's what we got. Drives a whole lot better now. It'll drive even better once we get our brakes straightened out and get alignment and all that stuff. It should get rid of that completely. So I gotta go in here and I'm gonna go in here and get new brake pads. It's nothing wrong with them. They got plenty of material. This side's wearing pretty good, but got a good wear pattern. But this driver's side, I'm gonna have to go in there, and when I put the pads on there, I should have checked to make sure they slide like they're supposed to, and I didn't, and they were a little worn, a little funny. So it's not the piston, it's the actual pad. I should have checked them when I loaded the caliper and make sure, you know, they slide back and forth nice and smooth. But you can kind of tell that's what's going on, so I got to do that. I'm just gonna get a whole nother set of brake pads and throw on it, and then we'll put them on the old grinder there and grind just the end off just a little bit, just so they'll slide like they're supposed to. And that should take care of all that. But all right, so that's where we're at, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, this ain't a how-to or nothing. This is just, you know, ain't really a lot of information on YouTube about it. So yeah, there they are. And they were $102 for the upper A-arms, and really pretty decent deal. You know, hopefully they'll last a little while. So like I said, I am keeping the originals. When I get a little more money down the road, I'm gonna buy a bushing kit and get a new shaft for just that one side. And the reason I don't want to buy new shafts for both is because I want to keep as much original, you know, parts as I possibly can that are, you know, they're acceptable. And what I mean by that is, you know, nothing wrong with them, but keeps it more true when you line it up and everything else. And you know, you ain't gotta worry about that shaft being a different thickness and all that. And you know, it just takes into account all that good stuff. So I like to keep it as original as I can. So we'll redo them and paint them up, and we'll keep them on hand. I'm sure we'll need them. So hopefully not for a while, but alrighty. So see y'all later. Bye.